Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Outlaws and Gunslingers with your hosts, Bang and Dang, Bang right here, Dang over there. Just finished burping all in the mic, so we had to restart the intro as usual. And I should start by saying we should have a pre-recorded PSA.
I told you this.
Before we start this. If anybody's here,
A little bit of thunder and lightning, boys.
Thunder going on in the background, perfect for a murder story. Nice.
Right.
Anybody's tuning into the show. I think we might get a little uptick of downloads just because of the subject topic here being John Lennon. So I guess I should let people know. If you're here to hear a straight up...
Since everybody's here, let me plug my stuff.
Right.
Jeez.
If you're here to hear a straight up, and in December of 1985... David Chapman came, and we don't do that.
No,
we don't do that. So save yourself the trouble. If you're not interested in us going off script and having little sidebar conversations and reacting, pretty much this is what we do to this. If we find something that's stupid, we'll call it out, and then maybe we'll have a 5-minute conversation about how stupid it was.
This episode, we didn't go through and proofread or anything.
Well, any episodes we do the research. Obviously, we know the basis of what's going to happen, but
not the
some
whole.
people want to say. Some people want to say this sounds like this is the first time you've ever heard this. Well, a lot of it is. We save it because we want to react in real time to what's going on. So we're not experts, we're not historians.
I mean, of course, that we're familiar with the John Lennon murder and all that.
We're not historians or anything like that. We're two dudes sitting, drinking beer, and pretty much having a conversation and discussing what the hell is going on in each story. We don't just I don't even know like the word for it. Blandly just go through, this is what happened here, and this is what happened here. You want one of those podcasts? Go look at the top 10.
Politically correct.
Right. Go look at the top 10 true crime podcasts. Right. Those are for you.
Yeah.
If not, all the people that are here are already listening.
They're already saying just fucking move forward. Get with the show.
Right. They're like, how many fucking times are going to say it? Well, we got to say it. But yeah, for everybody that's been listening.
We pride ourselves for not using the F word. Never say fuck.
Never.
No fucking way.
But again, for all those who've been listening, thanks for your support and continue to expect what we've been doing for the last 2 years now. Anybody else? Stick around. Maybe hear us out. Maybe you'll like us. Maybe you don't. If not, hey, you gave us a shot. That's all you can say. Moving on with that, you clicked on the title. You already know we're doing the murder/assassination, maybe, of John Lennon.
Murder, assassination, one and the same.
Well,
care.
Possibly the most famous, top 5 for sure, most famous murder/assassination.
He was killed for
in
the
American
stupidest
history.
reason in the world, too.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Lots of stuff going on. First Beatle, the most popular Beatle, obviously, without a doubt, I would say arguably, right? Most popular.
Not arguably.
Yeah, it's not even arguably. You can't even argue it. The most popular Beatle, gunned down in front of his luxurious New York apartments, December 8th. Was the
midday
day
too?
Nope, sure wasn't.
Was it?
Nope.
That wasn't midday?
Nope.
Or was that Nipsey Hussle?
That was Nipsey Hussle.
I get those confused.
How you get the two confused? I mean, similar genres. I get it. December 8th, 1980. John Lennon shot and killed in the archway of the Dakota, which was his residence in New York. His killer, Mark David Chapman, was an American.
Is that 3-namer?
That's what I was going to say. Why do they always do that? So I guess the killer's name sticks in your mind.
Right.
Because he didn't go around. People weren't calling him, "Hi, Mark David Chapman."
My name's Mark David Chapman.
Yeah, and Lee Harvey Oswald didn't say, "My name's Lee Harvey Oswald."
Right.
No. Like, that's stupid that they do that. The guy that shot MLK, what's his name? Was Ray something. Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. That's enough with the 3-name stuff.
Yeah, garbage.
What's the dude that shot up the Las Vegas? Didn't he go by 3 names? Didn't they call him 3 names?
Las Vegas guy?
Yeah.
What the hell was his name?
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure he was a 3-namer, though.
Even Charles Whitman, it was C.J. Whitman. Stephen Paddock.
Stephen Paddock. They didn't give him 3 names.
And his last name was like 2.
Right. 2 syllables. So Stephen Paddock. Either way, you guys get what I'm saying. They tend to do the 3 name thing. But
John
he was
Booth. I mean,
right. Mark David Chapman, apparent Beatles fan who was enraged by Lennon's lavish lifestyle and probably more so than anything, his 1966 comments that the Beatles were quote unquote more popular than Jesus.
yeah.
And you'll see why, because this guy was a pretty religious guy. He said he was inspired by the fictional character Holden Caulfield from J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye, a phony killer. The title character of that book is, who despises hypocrisy. I erroneously said on our last episode when I was promoting this that he did it because he wanted to impress Jodie Foster. That was actually the guy that attempted to assassinate Reagan. Same time frame, almost.
Yes.
Well, a couple of years later.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, come on, they blend together, right?
It's all the same, man. Jeez. Mark David Chapman was born on...
But the guy that attempted to assassinate Reagan also had a copy of Catcher in the Rye on him too. So
that was very popular for these weirdos.
Yep.
Mark David Chapman was born on the 10th of May, 1955, Fort Worth, Texas. His daddy, David Chapman, was a staff sergeant in the United States Air Force.
oh jeez.
His mother, Diane...
So
was
he was probably a strict little bitch, huh?
Yeah, his mother, Diane, was a nurse. His younger sister, Suzanne, was born 7 years later. As a boy, Mark David Chapman stated he lived in fear of his father,
Who didn't in the 50s?
right? Who said he was physically abusive towards his mom and unloving towards him.
Well, who wasn't in the 50s?
Chapman began to fantasize about having godlike power over a group of imaginary little people who lived in the walls of his bedroom. Dang. He attended Columbia High School in Decatur, Georgia.
Decatur.
Right. By the time he was 14, Chapman was using drugs, skipping classes.
Yeah. He started late.
Yeah, right. He once ran away from his home to live on the streets of Atlanta for 2 weeks.
Okay, just for the experience, you know.
He said he was often bullied at school because of his mediocre athleticism. Where'd you go? Georgia?
I mean, I could see that in the 50s and 60s and stuff.
In Georgia?
Like, you had to be an athlete, right?
Georgia,
Right.
definitely the South.
Right.
Sure, you're playing football or basketball or baseball.
Or basketball. Yeah, one of those. 1971, Chapman became a born-again Presbyterian.
Uh-oh.
Handed out biblical pamphlets around his college and stuff like that. He met his first girlfriend, Jessica Blankenship, and began work as a summer camp counselor at the South DeKalb County, Georgia YMCA.
Oh, fantastic.
He was very popular with the children, who nicknamed him Nemo,
Hey.
which was after the protagonist of the novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah.
Oh, Captain Nemo, huh? He was promoted to assistant director after winning an award for outstanding counselor. Good for
Hey,
him.
fantastic.
Look, it starts out so nice. They all do, right?
Yeah.
Those who knew him in the caretaking professions all called him an outstanding worker. Of
course he did.
Nothing bad to say about Mark David Chapman over here. He was a good worker. He loved those kids.
Right, he just got some daddy issues.
Yeah, right.
It's fine. It's fine.
Right.
Chapman read J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye on the recommendation of a friend. The novel eventually took on great personal significance for him,
I'd say.
to the extent he reportedly wished to model his life after the protagonist Holden Caulfield. After graduating Columbia High School, Chapman moved to Chicago. That's stupidity.
Man.
Who wants to move to Chicago?
Right.
And played guitar in churches and Christian night spots. In Chicago? While his friend did impersonations.
Imagine, like, I'm going to this hot Christian night spot, man. All right.
They're like, all right, dude, I'll be at the strip club. He worked successfully for World Vision with Vietnamese refugees at a resettlement camp at Fort Chaffee, or Chaffee?
Yeah, maybe.
In Arkansas. After a brief visit to Lebanon for the same work.
Look at him, dude. I mean, come on. He's got his head on straight just like Whitman did.
Right,
Like, what
dude.
the hell? He's got a tumor, too?
Right, he's got some daddy issues.
Jeez.
That's it.
Right.
He was named, and he's a bully a little bit in school.
Yeah, right.
He was named an area coordinator and a key aide to program director David Moore, who later said Chapman cared deeply for children and worked hard.
He's a hard worker.
Chapman went with Moore to meetings with government officials, and President Gerald Ford from Michigan shook his hand.
Yes, sir. Good for him. Look at it. Did he ever watch it again after that?
Unelected president.
Well, he was elected.
No, he was elected vice president.
He wasn't even elected vice president.
All right, yeah, this dude became president and nobody even wanted his ass.
He was elected within the political sphere, but not by the people.
No, definitely not.
That's why he didn't get a second term, obviously.
Didn't even do a four-year term.
Sure did. Yeah, he did.
It was almost 4 years. When did, what's his face?
72, something like that.
Something like
Then I
that.
immediately pardoned him.
Right.
He was like, "You're my friend."
Yeah. Go ahead, Blake.
Without you, I'm not possible.
Go live your life.
Right.
Never to return to the political fucking thing again.
He didn't either.
No.
I don't even think he gave speeches or nothing.
He didn't do nothing. He gave speeches about hypocrisy.
Right.
It's bad.
Man, don't do what I did. He could have, though.
Right. He said, what would you done different? Told the guys not to use flashlights.
Told the guys not to get caught. Probably wouldn't been discussing.
First of all, I wouldn't have put Forrest Gump in the same building. The guy knows everything. He sees everything.
Not only that, another thing I wouldn't do is discuss what the hell I was doing wrong on tape.
Right.
And when I knew they were going to look at the tapes, I wouldn't have deleted 8 minutes or whatever the hell from the tapes,
right,
to really enforce my my guiltiness there.
What are you gonna do,
but hey, 2020, right? Chapman joined Blankenship as a student at Covenant College with his girlfriend, which was an evangelical Presbyterian liberal arts college. There's a lot of the words I don't like there. In Lookout Mountain, Georgia. However, Chapman fell behind in his studies and became obsessed with guilt.
Of course he did.
Over having a previous affair, so he cheated on his wife or girlfriend.
I mean, at least he has like a conscience.
Yeah, well.
And it affected everything he did. Wow.
Well.
Jeez, bud.
He started having suicidal thoughts. Here we go. Began to feel like a failure. Dropped out of Covenant College after just one semester, and his girlfriend broke off the relationship soon after. She's like, I don't want no deadbeat that's not going to college.
Right, so now she feel good.
And she don't even know that he cheated on her. He's just all in his head.
No, you don't have to worry about it.
It's over with now.
But I was with her at the time. I should let down her trust.
Jeez. Chapman returned to work at the resettlement camp, but left after an argument with his supervisor.
Oh, dude, this dude is different. I don't even know you anymore, Mark.
I know, Mark. I felt like you were going good and this is spiraling.
Who are you?
And then he found work as an unarmed security guard, but supposedly took a week-long course to qualify as an armed guard. That didn't work out, apparently, because in 1977, he moved to Hawaii.
Oh, jeez.
Where he attempted suicide by carbon monoxide asphyxiation.
Oh, jeez.
He connected a hose to his car's exhaust, but the hose
melted. Thing to do in the 70s, bud.
The hose melted, and the attempt failed.
Yeah, an exhaust pipe.
You probably don't want to use a plastic hose. Okay, for future reference, anybody out there looking to carbon monoxide asphyxiate yourself, don't put a plastic hose at the end of your tailpipe. This shit gets pretty hot.
Right.
Learn from the chicks from Suicide Virgins or whatever the hell that is. Right? Is that what they're called? That movie? Suicide Virgins?
I never seen it. So
Kirsten Dunst?
I don't know.
All that good stuff?
I don't know, but never seen it.
Well,
never seen it.
Okay.
Psychiatrist admitted Chapman to Castle Memorial Hospital for clinical depression. Upon his release from the ward, he began working at the hospital as a janitor.
Hey, way to turn nothing into something, right?
Oh, why should we hire him? He's crazy. He's like, no, I think it's good for him to be around.
Aren't all janitors crazy, though?
Right. It'd be good for him to be around this environment. All right. After Chapman...
Right, because he could still be in the facility, but just cleaning shit, right?
After Chapman's parents began divorce proceedings, his mother joined him in Hawaii. She's like, you know what, Mark David? I'm thinking I'm going to come to Hawaii.
I think I want to get out of this dreadful weather here and go to Hawaii.
Right.
I wish I could just move to Hawaii. I guess I could move to Hawaii, but...
I think you'd want to.
I think I would want to.
Hawaii, man.
I think I would want to.
Not
There's
Hawaii.
plenty of smaller towns in Hawaii. You don't have to live in like Oahu and Waka Waka Wiki Wiki Wiki.
Hawaii is a worse than California. 1978, Chapman went on a 6-week trip around the world.
Well, where's he getting his money?
Right. The vacation was partly inspired by the film and novel Around the World in 80 Days.
So now we know that he's a weirdo and just takes work.
He believed he's the type of people. He's the type of people that other people are talking about. Video games make people do things,
right?
Or them movies or those songs.
I'm glad
angry songs.
I'm glad Harry Potter wasn't around when this guy was around because he was trying to do like magic and play Quidditch and shit.
Kiss means Knights in Satan's service, and if you played the Doors albums backwards, it's the devil.
Not the Doors, but definitely Led Zeppelin and definitely Beatles
as well. He visited Tokyo, Seoul. Is it Seoul? Seoul, Hong Kong, Singapore, Bangkok, New Delhi, Beirut,
Geneva,
London, Paris, Dublin. He also had a relationship with his travel agent, a Japanese-American woman named Gloria Abe.
Doesn't sound too Japanese, but good.
Well, he married in 1979 on the 2nd of June.
Hey, good for him. That's a hell of a trip, though, dude. Tokyo, Seoul, Hong Kong, Singapore, Bangkok, New Delhi, Beirut, Geneva, London, Paris, Dublin. Holy shit.
You ain't kidding. I would have left out
none of them.
All of them.
Every single one of them's good.
I would have left out every single one of them.
78. Tokyo's not really Tokyo, how it is now. None of these are out there now, but Bangkok maybe. That's a sketchy place. You got chicks with dicks fucking just roaming around freely there.
Bangkok? Oh, dude, Bangkok was... He wanted to go to Bangkok for that
true,
reason.
Right. New Delhi was probably...
Singapore, same way.
New Delhi was probably pretty cool because don't they have like palaces and shit there? That's pretty cool.
Tokyo was like a freaking mafia town. Forget that place.
Yakuza.
Especially in 78. Hong Kong is... No, I'll never go to China.
Hong Kong's not China.
It is.
Nope.
It's still China.
Nope.
It's still China.
Independent. And plus, especially in the 70s, Americans, it was like American colony, dude.
Right. Baru, I guess. London,
Geneva.
Why?
I mean, Geneva's
Right.
It's like Switzerland or something like that. I'd go there.
Right, London, and just to see the old buildings.
Right.
Paris, same.
Right.
Dublin, Ireland, that'd be fantastic.
Dublin would be fucking great.
You ain't lying. Anywhere Scandinavian, I love it.
That would be cool too. Well, Dublin's not Scandinavian, but I get it.
Around there.
Right. Norway.
Yeah.
Good stuff like that. Yep. Chapman got a job at Castle Memorial Hospital as a printer, working alone rather than with staff and patients. He was then fired by the hospital, later rehired, then got into an argument with a nurse, and finally quit. Student doesn't know what he wants to do. After this, he took a job as a night security guard at a high-end apartment complex and began drinking heavily to cope with his depression.
You know why? Because that job that he took at the apartment complex was so freaking boring, and all he sat there was his thoughts all day long.
Right. And it was a high-end apartment complex,
Yeah.
so nothing's going on there, dude. There ain't nothing happening
Oh,
there.
yeah. This dude's got to be in a drunk and just...
Didn't have his phone.
He was a walking time bomb. Yep, didn't have his phone.
Couldn't do anything.
Couldn't do nothing.
He developed a series of obsessions, including artwork, The Catcher in the Rye, music, and the musician John Lennon. Yep. September 1980, he wrote a letter to a friend, Linda Irish, in which he stated, quote unquote, "I'm going nuts." He signed the letter, The Catcher in the Rye. Weirdo! Chapman had no criminal convictions prior to his trip to New York to kill Lennon.
Here's the problem here.
They never do
Here's
they?
the problem here again. Second story in a row. This guy's writing down his thoughts and telling other people.
That's not even, no, we're not even there yet. That's just a friend. He mentions to his wife later on, you'll
Right.
see that he's been thinking of killing John Lennon.
Right, with just that right there. What do you
Yeah,
wrote
that's
to that? I mean,
pretty
come on.
sketch too, but I mean, there's more. There's more.
Jeez, oh Pete. Chapman went to New York in late October 1980. He went there intending to kill John Lennon, but left to obtain ammunition from his friend in Atlanta, who didn't know about his plans. Before returning in November,
A little side note on that. The reason he didn't have ammunition when he went to New York in October is because he found out that he couldn't travel on a plane with ammunition.
right,
So that's why he went down to get ammunition from Atlanta.
right.
So
And then he went back
Right.
to New York in November. During his October trip to New York, Chapman was inspired by the film Ordinary People, and it inspired him to stop his plans.
which Ordinary People, I looked it up. It's the whole story involves suicide, murder, and losing family and like that type of stuff.
Ordinary
so
people,
He
man.
got a little second. He got a little conscious in him and said, maybe I shouldn't do this.
It was like a non-believer going to church, and he was like, "That sermon was speaking to me."
right. It spoke to my soul. Right.
He returned to Hawaii and told his wife that he was obsessed with killing John Lennon.
There we go.
Chapman showed
That's
her.
the dude that did the San Ysidro McDonald's massacre when he said, I'm going to hunt humans, left out with 2 guns.
It's like, okay, babe,
She said, I'll have dinner ready.
give me some coffee and on the way back, will ya?
Can you pick me up some McNuggets?
All right. Chapman showed her the guns and the bullets that he had, but he didn't inform the police.
She did.
Oh, she didn't inform the police or mental health services. Chapman later said that the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," was flashed on a television screen in front of him. And there was a hanging on the wall in his apartment that his wife put there. He made an appointment to see a clinical psychologist, but he did not keep it. Flew back to New York on his 6th. He said, "You know what? I think I'm just going to go to New York and see John Lennon."
I think I don't need a clinical psychologist. I do need to kill, though.
Right. So he went to New York on December 6, 1980. At one point, he considered ending his life by jumping off the Statue of Liberty. You should have just done that, bud.
Right. Spare the other stuff. It's
There's
raining.
a whole conspiracy with John Lennon, too, though, by himself.
It's raining hard. I'm sure you guys can hear that on here. Nothing we can do about it.
There's a whole conspiracy with John Lennon himself.
Yeah, we'll surround those conspiracies and in this episode. December 7th, Day before the murders, Chapman accosted singer James Taylor.
You know what's different between most of these John Lennon, well, I guess you want to say biographies or documentaries?
What about
It goes by John Lennon's life and like a little part of this guy. And what we do is we glorify this whole guy.
We always glorify the murderers. Well, it comes. No, I like to do it that way because we go through their childhood, what fucked them up in the first place, to where we get here.
Right. That's the point. It's Outlaws and Gunslingers. It's not murderers from Outlaws and Gunslingers.
We're not telling the story of the people that got murdered.
Right. We don't care about John Lennon. We care about David Chapman.
But we do pretty much what any documentary does that's profiling a murderer. Gives the background. There was abused by their mom and dad.
A little bit on the murderer, but it's mostly about the guy.
No.
Like John Lennon would be his whole story.
Hell no.
John Lennon decided to go to music when he was 14 years old.
If it was a John Lennon documentary, yeah, that included the murder. But if it was just specifically on the murder, they do the same thing we would do. Also, have you ever watched anything on Ted Bundy? I have. And then they go through his old childhood and everything.
Well, it's Ted Bundy.
Right. That's Mark David Chapman.
Yeah. This ain't a biography on Mark David Chapman, though.
It's a biography on the killing of
John Lennon.
John Lennon. Why would we go into John? We know who John Lennon is.
Do we?
We don't need to know We need to know Chapman, why he did this.
Do we actually know?
And leading up to
who John Lennon is?
I don't really care to know who John Lennon is. He's been dead for 40 years. Nobody cares about him anyway. See, I said it. Imagine all the people
Who doesn't give a shit?
Most overrated song ever, by the way. December 7th.
Overrated band.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They got some bangers, dude. They got some bangers.
A few.
December 7th, Chapman accosted singer James Taylor at the 72nd Street subway station. Here's your sign. According to Taylor, he says, quote unquote, the guy had sort of pinned me to the wall and was glistening with maniacal sweat and talking some freak speak about what he was going to do and his stuff with how John was interested and he was going to get in touch with John Lennon.
Uh-oh.
Well, red flag.
All right.
He also reportedly offered cocaine to a taxi driver.
Hey, fantastic.
He's a taxi driver. Hell yeah.
Taxi driver's like, hell yeah, bud. He's like, this shit's garbage. Try this.
Yeah. That night, Chapman and his wife talked on the phone about getting help with his problems by first
On the phone.
working with his relationship with God. Well, yeah, on the phone. She was in Hawaii and he's in New York.
Sad.
Where's he getting this money?
Right.
From what I can tell, the dude's unemployed, jumping from job to job, but he's got time to go around the
She's
world.
a nurse, so she's probably making decent money.
He's got time to fly to New York and back and Atlanta and go here and there.
His
But
mom was a nurse. And what did she do?
his wife was studied nursery too, I believe.
Chapman waited for Lennon.
No, his wife is the travel agent lady.
Right. Chapman waited for Lennon outside Dakota early the next morning.
Ooh-wee, you guys heard that?
Spent most of the day near the entrance of the Dakota,
Yep.
talking to fans and to the doorman.
Which is crazy because literally outside of John Lennon's residence.
I mean, it was normal for everybody to do that. During that morning, Chapman was distracted and missed seeing Lennon step out of a cab and enter the Dakota.
Oh, he must have been
he was pissed. Later that morning, Chapman met Lennon's family nanny, Helen Seaman, who was returning from a walk with Lennon's 5-year-old son, Sean. Oh, man, this guy could have done some major damage there.
Right.
Chapman reached out in front of the housekeeper to shake Sean's hand and said that he was a beautiful boy, quoting Lennon's song, "Beautiful boy, darling boy."
Darling boy.
That's some weird. But the nanny's like, damn, dude.
Creeper.
I don't know. I was probably seeing that shit all a lot.
That's true, too, yeah. Around 5 p.m., Lennon and Ono, delayed by a late limousine, shared with the RKO radio crew, left their apartment to mix the song Walking on Thin Ice.
Hey.
Which was an Ono song featuring Lennon on lead guitar. They were going to the record plant. As they left the building, Chapman came up and asked for Lennon's autograph, which fans did all the time, so he was like, all right. He wanted on a copy of his album Double Fantasy.
Fantastic.
Lennon liked to give autographs or pictures, especially to those who had been waiting for long periods of time to meet him. Later, Chapman said, he was very, very kind to me. Ironically, very kind and was very patient with me.
Fantastic.
He said the limo was waiting, and he took his time with me, and he got the pen going, and he signed my album. He asked me if I needed anything else. I said, no, sir. And he walked away, very cordial and a decent man.
Wow.
And I still decided to gun him down.
Wow, ain't that crazy?
Jeez. Paul Gorish, One of the two was an amateur photographer and Lennon fan. He took a photo of Lennon signing Chapman's elbow.
Oh, jeez.
Signed his elbow in his album. Which you can see the famous photo everywhere.
All right. The Lennon spent a few hours at record plant before returning to Dakota around 10:50 p.m.
10:50.
Lennon wanted to be home in time to say goodnight to his son before going to the Stage Deli restaurant with Ono.
See, kids ruin everything.
All right. All right. Didn't have that damn boy. He could have just went to the damn restaurant.
Just went to the damn restaurant.
The Lennons got out of the limousine on 72nd Street instead of driving into the more secured courtyard of the Dakota.
Well, it's a mistake.
The Lennons passed Chapman and walked toward the archway entrance of the building. Ono passed by. Chapman nodded at her. As Lennon passed by, he glanced briefly at Chapman, appearing to recognize him from earlier.
He's like, hey, you're the bloke that I signed the record for, eh?
You still here, buddy?
Hey, fucking love my fans, I do. Swear, I'll be back, mate. I just gotta go say goodbye to my son.
I'll get you something from the deli. You going to be here later?
Right. Well, that never happened because seconds later, that could have happened. But seconds later, Chapman drew his gun, hidden in his coat pocket, aimed at the center of Lennon's back, and rapidly fired 5 hollow point bullets from a distance about 9 or 10 feet.
Wow.
Based on statements made that night by New York City Police Department Chief of Detectives James Sullivan, many reports at the time claimed that before firing, Chapman called out, Mr. Lennon, and dropped into a combat stance. So he's getting that aim down. Later court hearings and witness interviews did not include either Mr. Lennon or the combat stance description.
Okay.
Chapman said that he does not remember calling out to Lennon before he fired and that Lennon did not turn around.
Oh.
He claimed afterwards in 1992 to have taken a combat stance, but I think he just did that for things.
Right.
That dude just literally fired like
That's
a coward little
ridiculous.
bitch that he is.
Wow. One bullet missed Lennon, hit a window of the Dakota. According to the autopsy report, 2 bullets entered the left side of Lennon's back, traveling through the left side of his chest and his left lung, with one exiting from the body and one lodged in his neck. 2 more bullets hit Lennon in his left shoulder. Lennon, bleeding profusely from external wounds and from his mouth, staggered up 5 steps to the security reception area where he said, I'm shot. I'm shot. He then fell to the floor, scattering cassettes that he was carrying. Poor
Dude
guy.
exited through the front of him.
Yeah.
That's how close he was shot, and those bullets, holy shit. Jose Perdomo, the doorman, shook the gun out of Chapman's hand and kicked it across the pavement. Concierge worker Jay Hastings first started to make a tourniquet, but after ripping open Lennon's blood-stained shirt and realizing the severity of the wounds, he covered Lennon's chest with his uniform jacket, removed his blood-covered glasses, and called the police. Chapman removed his coat and hat to show he was not carrying any concealed weapons and remained standing on West 72nd Street waiting for police. Underneath his coat, he wore a promotional T-shirt for Todd Rundgren's album Hermit of Mink Hollow.
Oh, jeez.
Sucks to be Todd Rundgren.
Dang, dude. He could have, that Pordomo guy could have at least tried to stop the bleeding.
No, you probably seen, dude. He was probably said he was bleeding profusely.
Yeah, he had a collapsed lung. The only one that was that, what could have been, he could have lived.
Well, it's false.
A couple
'Cause
shoulders.
I know what's about to be said, and trust me.
No. Perdomo shouted at Chapman, do you know what you just did? Which Chapman calmly replied, I just shot John Lennon. Officer Stephen Spiro
What a
and Peter
bitch.
Cullen.
How did nobody punch him in the face?
Right. Officer Stephen Spiro and Peter Cullen were the first cops to arrive at the scene. They were at 72nd Street and Broadway when they heard a report of shots fired at the Dakota. They're like, oh, no, not John.
Maybe, right?
The officers arrived around 2 minutes later and found Chapman standing very calmly on West 72nd Street, reading a paperback copy of J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye.
so fucked up in, sorry my language, fucked up in the head that he's just sitting there reading the damn book that inspired him to do this.
They immediately put Chapman in handcuffs, placed him in the back of the seat of their squad car. Chapman made no attempt to flee or resist arrest. Colin said of Chapman, he apologized to us for ruining our night. I turned around and I said to him, you got to be fucking kidding me. You're worried about our night? Do you know what you just did to your life?
I don't think he cares.
Well, then he said he read him his rights more than once.
Officer,
Why would you read to him more than once?
just
He
to make
he didn't know what else to say.
right?
You have the right to remain silent. He didn't know what to do.
You know, I have a point. We were having one pointer for you, right?
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, you stupid motherfucker.
They're like, yesterday,
Let's go, John Lennon.
we are so far away. Isn't I Believe in Yesterday? Is that a Beatles song?
I don't fucking know.
I hope it is, because people are going to be fucking leaving a review about that.
Why had you go? I don't know. You wouldn't say. No, he did say, because he wanted to kiss his son goodnight. Stupid son. You know what? What's his son's name?
Sean
freaking Lennon.
Sean Lennon.
You are to blame for your father's death. I hope people told you this. If they said you were not, they lied. It was your fault.
Just had
You know,
to
most of the times when parents get divorced and they tell the kids it wasn't your fault. In this instance, your daddy died because of you.
Well, even most times that parents get divorced, it's the kid's fault. Right.
99.9% of the time, it's the fucking kid's fault.
Dumbass.
Fucking stupid kids.
Officer Herb Frohenberger and his partner Tony Palma were the second team arriving on the crime scene. They found Lennon laying face down on the floor of the reception area, blood pouring from his mouth, and his clothing already soaked with it, with Hassans attending to him. Officers James Moran, and Bill Gamble then arrived on the scene, and Frohenberger put Lennon in their car.
See, why didn't the pro bono guy, whatever his name was, drive him to the damn hospital?
Pro bono?
What is his name? Porbono? Or what the hell is that guy's name? Porbono? What's his name?
Perdomo. He was a bellhopper.
Yeah,
he didn't have a car.
Sure, he had a car.
Oh,
think he walked to work?
Yeah, it's New York, yes.
Well, he probably had a car.
100% know for a fact he walked to work, probably.
Most likely. Or took a bus.
No fucking cars.
Somebody had a car.
Nobody had a car. Didn't matter. They arrived 2 minutes later. Or the first officers, 90 seconds or whatever that was.
Instead of arresting the guy, they should have just threw Lennon in the back of the cop car.
Well, James Moran and Bill Gamble did just that, concluding his condition was too serious to wait for an ambulance to arrive. Moran and Gamble then drove Lennon to Roosevelt Hospital on West 59th, followed by Frohenberger and Palma, who drove Ono to the hospital. According to Gamble, in the car, Moran asked, "Are you John Lennon? Or do you know who you are?" To which Lennon nodded, but could only manage to make a moaning and gurgling sound.
Yeah, because his lungs were full of blood.
And he lost consciousness shortly after.
Oh, jeez.
Done by then, dude. Done.
Oh.
Done.
Stephen Lynn, head of the emergency department at Roosevelt Hospital, says, if John Lennon had been shot this way in the middle of the operating room with a whole team of surgeons ready to work on him, he still would not have survived his injuries.
It was done. We're about to hear some pretty fucked up
time in the world.
Even now, dude, I think. What we're about to hear, dude, yeah, he got ripped apart.
A few minutes before 11 p.m., Moran arrived at Roosevelt Hospital with Lennon in a squad car.
Wonder if that squad car's...
I bet.
Did you think they
had
cleaned it or put it back in action? Or?
I'm sure they did. Moran was carrying Lennon on his back and onto a gurney, demanding a doctor for a multiple gunshot wound victim. He's like, we need a doctor. Got a multiple gunshot wound victim. Right. It's freaking John Lennon, guys.
Right.
When Lennon was brought in, he was not breathing and had no pulse.
Jeez.
3 doctors, a nurse, and 2 or 3 other medical attendants worked on Lennon for 10 to 20 minutes and attempted to resuscitate him. As a last resort, the doctors cut open Lennon's chest and attempted manual heart massage to restore circulation, but they quickly discovered that the damage to the blood vessels above and around Lennon's heart from the multiple bullet wounds was too much.
Too much.
A few minutes before 11 p.m., Moran arrived at Roosevelt Hospital with Lennon in a squad car. Moran was carrying Lennon on his back and then onto a gurney, demanding a doctor for multiple gunshot wound victim. When Lennon was brought in, he was not breathing and had no pulse.
Jeez.
3 doctors, 1 nurse, and 2 or 3 other medical attendants worked on him for 10 to 20 minutes in an attempt to resuscitate him. At last resort, the doctors cut open Lennon's chest, attempted manual heart massage.
Dude, they literally just opened up his heart right there. It's like, we got to do it.
But they quickly discovered that damage to the blood vessels above and around Lennon's heart from the multiple bullet wounds was too much.
Yep, because 3 of the 4 bullets that hit Lennon's back passed completely through his body and out of his chest. Oh, jeez, dude. While the 4th lodged itself in his aorta beside his heart. One of the exiting bullets from his chest hit and became lodged in his upper left arm. Several of the wounds could have been fatal by themselves because each bullet had ruptured vital arteries around the heart. Yeah, dude, they're hollow points.
Right.
Lennon was shot 4 times at close range with hollow point bullets, and his affected organs, particularly his left lung and major blood vessels above his heart, were virtually destroyed upon impact. It just blew him. There was no saving him. There's no way you can fix this. I mean, oh, jeez.
Right. Information regarding who operated on Lennon was varied. Stephen Lynn, the head of emergency department at Roosevelt Hospital, is usually credited with performing Lennon's surgery. 2005, Lynn said he massaged Lennon's heart and attempted to resuscitate him for 20 minutes. That 2 other doctors were present and that 3 of them declared Lennon's death. Richard Marks, an emergency room surgeon at Roosevelt, stated in 1990 that he operated on Lennon, administered a massive blood transfusion, and provided heart massage to no avail. When I realized he wasn't going to make it, Mark said, I just sewed him back up. I felt hopeless. So who did it?
And helpless.
I think
Mark seems like the more credible story.
Right. I think the other guy.
Well, we got one more account because David Halloran, who had been a third-year general surgery resident at the hospital, disputed the accounts of both of them. 2015, he said that the two doctors didn't do anything and that he did not initially release the identity of the victim.
Realized.
Oh, so he was the guy. Oh, wait. In 2015, Halloran stated that the two doctors didn't do anything.
Nothing.
And
It's they didn't do nothing. What are you talking about? They just sat there with their mouths on the floor.
And even he did not initially realize the identity of who it was. He added that Lynn only came to assist when he heard it was Lennon.
Oh.
According to his death certificate, Lennon was pronounced dead on arrival at 11:15 p.m., but the time of 11:07 has also been reported. So it's between there, I guess. Witnesses noted that the Beatles song All My Lovin' came over the hospital sound system at the moment Lennon was pronounced dead.
Oh, wouldn't that be crazy?
Right.
I mean, not really, though.
It was pretty popular back then. I mean, it's still the 80s. All My Lovin'?
Still, could have been any
I would expect it to Get Back or something like that. Not All My Lovin'.
Right.
Lennon's body was then taken to the city morgue at 521st Avenue for an autopsy.
And that was quick.
Yeah.
The
I don't
official
know why
call-
you have to have an autopsy, but
Right. The official cause of death was reported on his death certificate as hypovolemic shock.
hypovolemic.
Right. Okay. Caused by a loss of more than 80% of blood volume due to multiple through and through gunshot wounds to the left shoulder and left chest, resulting in damage to the left lung.
Right. I mean, when you got a bullet that's lodged in you, I think you're only bleeding from one hole. But when you got one that go through, you're kind of screwed there.
Also to the left subclavian artery and both the aorta and aortic arc.
Right.
Heart trauma, guys.
Yeah.
According to the report, even with prompt medical treatment, no person could have survived this type of injury for more than a few minutes, with multiple bullet wounds affecting all the major arteries and veins around the heart.
Which obviously happened because he didn't survive more than a few minutes.
Right.
Ono asked the hospital not to report to the media that her husband was dead until she informed their 5-year-old son, who was at home. She said he was probably up watching TV and that she did not want him to learn of his father's death from a TV announcement. Understandable. But you already know how much scumbags the media are.
Right.
Scumbags in the media and scumbags in the FBI go hand in hand in our little show that we do here. Because, however, news producer Alan J. Weiss of WABC TV happened to be waiting for treatment in the Roosevelt Hospital after being injured in a motorcycle crash.
Jeez,
Police officers wheeled Lennon into the same room as Weiss and mentioned what happened. Weiss then called his station and relayed the information, and you know what's happening from there.
ABC News President Rooney Arledge received word of the death during the last few moments of the national telecast of Monday Night Football game between the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins.
And if you're a Beatles fan or any knowledgeable anything about American history,
right,
you've probably seen this clip 1,000 times.
Yes. With the game tied and the Patriots about to attempt a field goal to win the game, Arledge informed Frank Gifford and Howard Cosell, I don't know how to say his last name, guys.
Howard Cosell, yeah.
Of the shooting and suggested that they report the murder on live television.
Live NFL, Monday Night Football, everybody's watching.
Cosell, who had interviewed Lennon during a Monday Night Football broadcast in 1974, was chosen to do so, but balked at being the one to deliver the news.
I would too. I would want to do that. This is a football game.
Gifford convinced Cosell otherwise, saying, "You've got to do it. If you know it, we've got to do it.
No, you don't have to do it. That's the thing.
Don't hang on it. It's a tragic moment, and this is going to shake up the whole world."
That last little thing right there is what tells me everything I need to know about the media. This is going to shake up the whole world.
You want to be
you guys.
You want to be the one to report it, bud.
Right?
Jeez.
And we got a little play-by-play of what happened live on air. Cosell starts doing just regular commentary. He said, "But it's suddenly been placed in total perspective for us. I'll finish this. They're in the hurry-up offense." Gifford says, 3rd down and 4. Chuck Foreman, it'll be 4th down. Matt Kavanaugh will return it, or will let it run down for one final attempt. He'll let the seconds tick off to give Miami no opportunity whatsoever.
To kick this game-winning field goal, right?
Then you'll hear a whistle blow. Timeout was called with 3 seconds remaining. John Smith is on the line. And I don't care what's on the line, Howard. You have got to say what we know in the booth.
Oh.
Cosell says, yes, we have to say it. Remember, this is just a football game, no matter who wins or loses. An unspeakable tragedy confirmed to us by ABC News in New York City. John Lennon, outside of his apartment building on the west side of New York City, the most famous perhaps of all the Beatles, shot twice in the back, misreported,
Right.
rushed to Roosevelt Hospital, dead on arrival. Hard to go back to the game after that news flash, which, in duty bound, we have to take, Frank. Gifford pauses for a second and says, indeed it is. New York rock station WNEW FM 102.7 immediately suspended all programming and opened its line to calls from listeners. Stations throughout the country switched to special programming devoted to Lennon and or the Beatles' music.
That's so sad. That was all for
Just to be the ones that reported
Right.
it. Just to be the ones that reported it, dude. Fuck out of here. Nobody else had that story at the time. It's just not leaking out like it's now.
Right.
They could have waited to the end of the game and then did a new flash or something. They're so scummy, dude.
Right.
Especially after Ono specifically said, I don't want my Sunday. He was probably watching football.
Sad.
I mean, geez. The media's trash, dude.
Media is trash. Always has been.
Always
will
has
be.
been.
According to Stephen Lynn, when he informed Ono of Lennon's death, she banged her head against the concrete floor at the hospital. Dang. She could have killed herself.
Understandable.
His account was disputed by two of the nurses who were there.
Because of course it is. Because when you get these famous stories like this, you get people that want to drum up the situation and try to make it. I hate people.
They're like, I
in
don't think she
general.
did that at all. I think she gave it like a little fist pump
Right.
to the side.
Yes. John Lennon's estate is mine.
What? 2015 interview, Ono denied hitting her head on the floor and stated that her chief, so stupid.
Right.
Ono denied hitting her head on the floor and stated that her main concern at the time was to remain calm and take care of her son, Sean.
Which I probably tend to believe over the other shit.
She was led away from Roosevelt Hospital by a policeman and Geffen Records president, David Geffen.
Geffen Records.
The following day, Ono issued a statement, which she said, "There's no funeral for John. Later in the week, we'll set the time for a silent vigil to pray for his soul. We invite you to participate from wherever you are at this time. John loved and prayed for the human race. Please pray for the same for him. Love, Yoko and Sean."
George Harrison issued a prepared statement for the press. After all we went through together, I would attempt a British accent, but I'll fuck it up. So, after all we went through together, I had and still have great love and respect for him. I am shocked and stunned. To rob a life is the ultimate robbery in life.
Yeah.
The perpetual encroachment on other people's space is taken to the limit with the use of a gun. It is an outrage that people can take other people's lives when they obviously haven't got their own lives in order.
Right.
Okay. Harrison later privately told friends, he said, I just wanted to be in a band. Here we are 20 years later and some whack job has shot my mate. I just wanted to play guitar in a band, man.
Yeah. That's usually how it goes.
Jeez, right?
Paul McCartney addressed reporters outside his Sussex home that morning, and he said this: "I can't take it at the moment. John was a great man who'll be remembered for his unique contributions to art, music, and peace. He's going to be missed by the whole world." Later that day, McCartney was leaving an Oxford Street recording studio when reporters asked him for his reaction. He had his response: "Drag, isn't it? Okay, cheers, bye-bye." His apparently casual response was widely criticized.
After, they've already taken the quote from earlier this morning and said, I can't take it, blah, 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 what it already he said, but we'll focus on this because the media.
Right. McCartney later said that he had intended no disrespect and simply was unable to articulate his feelings. Given the shock and sadness he felt over Lennon's murder. Reflecting on the day 2 years later, McCartney said the following: "How did I feel? I can't remember. I can't express it. I can't believe it. It was crazy. It was anger. It was fear. It was madness. It was the world coming to an end. And it was, will it happen to me next?"
Ooh, there we go. A little ego kicking in. Everything's about John.
I just felt everything. I still can't put it into words. You just did.
No, John. You literally put it into words.
Shocking. And I ended up saying, it's a drag.
It's a drag.
And that doesn't really sum it up. End quote.
Right.
Ringo Starr, who was in the Bahamas at the time, received a phone call from his children informing of the murder. He flew to New York City to console Ono and played with Lennon's son, Sean.
Good for him.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Good for you, Ringo. That's why you're the class act of the group. That's me shaking my head no, guys.
Well, George Harrison takes that honor, I would say.
Right?
We can agree with that. The outpouring of grief, wonder, and shared devastation that followed Lennon's death had the same intensity as the reaction to the killing of a world figure. Some bold and popular politician like John or Robert Kennedy, or a spiritual leader like MLK. But Lennon was a creature of poetic political metaphor, and his spiritual consciousness was directed inward.
Any of you younger chitlins listen to this right now, if you've never seen any of the reactions or anything, just watch some John Lennon stuff. It's ridiculous. This guy was like a cult figure or something.
Well, we'll get to that, yeah. Nuts. And, well, thank you for interrupting my quote that I was quoting from Jay Cox.
Oh.
He said, but Lennon was a creature of poetic political metaphor, and his spiritual consciousness was directed inward as a way of nurturing and widening his creative force. That was what made the impact and the difference, the shock of his imagination, the penetrating and pervasive traces of his genius, and it was the loss of all of that in so abrupt and awful a way that was mourned last week all over the world.
That's crazy.
So said Jay Cox of Time magazine on December 22nd, 1980.
Wow.
It was. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, it's probably the top 5, we'll call it an assassination, top 5 assassination in American history. Easily. After Abe, John, Robert, Martin. Malcolm X is probably up there, but we've had a lot of famous killings, but John Lennon's is easily like the most remembered out of those. Not the most, but up there with those, you know.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes. Per Ono's wishes, 14th December, millions of people around the world pause for 10 minutes of silence.
10 minutes is ridiculous. Give me 30 seconds, you know?
Dang. 10 minutes of silence to remember John Lennon, including 30,000 people gathering in Lennon's hometown of Liverpool.
You know how they pause at the moment on Good Friday when Christ was put on the cross? I think it's like 1 or 2 in the p.m. afternoon.
Oh,
There's
right.
usually like a pause. People stop doing what they're doing, and they basically did the same thing for John Lennon. Dude.
Right, right, yeah. 30,000 people gathered in Lennon's hometown of Liverpool. Over 225,000 people gathered at Naumburg Bandshell in Central Park.
Jeez.
Close to the scene of the shooting. For those 10 minutes, every radio station in New York City went off the air.
Wow.
At least 3 Beatles fans committed suicide after the murder.
Jeez.
Leading Ono to make a public appeal asking mourners not to give in to despair. Oh, wow. These dudes are off in themselves. If John ain't living, I ain't living.
Just crazy. Every radio station went off air for 10 minutes.
In New York.
You know how much money they lost?
In New York.
In New York, right.
That's fine.
But you know how much money they lost?
It's fame. It's
Well, I'm just saying. That's unprecedented, dude. I bet you it hasn't happened since.
No.
January 18th, 1981, a full-page open letter from Ono appeared in the New York Times and the Washington Post. It was titled Ingratitude. It expressed thanks to the millions of people who mourned Lennon's loss and wanted to know how they could commemorate his life and help her son, Sean, and her. Double Fantasy, which was released 3 weeks before Lennon's murder, to mixed critical reaction. That's important.
Right.
And initially unremarkable sales became a worldwide commercial success and won the 1981 Grammy Award for Album of the Year.
And it's not a good album, guys.
And it's not a good album, guys, because even people that were hardcore Beatles fans before he died 3 weeks before or 3 weeks after the release were like, yeah.
It's not a good album, guys.
That's what they said. It's not a good album, guys.
Not a good
Come
album,
on. Jeez.
Well, Ono then went on
Who was up for Album of the Year in at the 24th Grammy Awards? I want to know.
Right. I bet you some people.
They're better, but I guarantee there was at least 2 albums more deserving than Double Fantasy.
At least. Probably more than that.
Mistaken Identity by Kim Carnes, Breaking Away by Al Jarreau, The Dude by Quincy Jones, Gotcho by Steely Dan. All right, Double Fantasy deserved it that year, guys. They probably put all these guys up because Double Fantasy was there. Yeah, I mean, come on.
Well, Ono went on to release a solo album called Season of Glass in 1981. The cover of the album is a photograph of Lennon's blood-splattered glasses.
Hey, talk about taking advantage of the situation.
Right. That same year, she also released Walking on Thin Ice, the song the Lennons had mixed at the record plant less than an hour before he was murdered. And then she released that as a single.
Dude, whoever has the master copy of that probably...
You are not kidding.
Wow.
The attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan by John Hinckley took place 3 months after Lennon's murder, and the police found a copy of the Catcher in the Rye among Hinckley's personnel belongings. Hinckley left a cassette tape in his hotel room on which he stated that he mourned Lennon's death. He said that he wanted to make some kind of statement after Lennon's death.
He's like, I mourn this guy that just got killed, so my statement is going to be to try to kill somebody else. Not only that, the president.
This dude is pissed because he ain't making no more movies.
Right.
He's like Reagan.
Right, probably. It's like, I loved you, Reagan.
I loved your spaghetti westerns, buddy. Come on, man. Come back. Please. Wasn't he like a pilot in one movie?
I don't even
or some
think he was a
shit?
spaghetti western guy. He was just an actor.
Right. Yeah, he was in those weird movies. You don't think he might have been in...
He probably was. Spaghetti western was the bee's knees in the 60s, man.
Bees and knees. 2016, Jay Hastings, the concierge at the Dakota, who tried to help John Lennon, sold the shirt he was wearing that night, stained with Lennon's blood, at an auction for $42,000 and $500.
Well, at least he held on it for that long. He's like, I'm not doing anything with this. Why am I still holding on a blood-soaked shirt? $42,000 for a blood-soaked shirt. What a bunch of weirdos that bought that.
You ain't kidding.
Meanwhile, Chapman was charged. Yeah, see, we have reactions, and then meanwhile, we got another thing going on here because we got to get to the trial and stuff still, guys. You think we're done? Meanwhile, Chapman was charged with second-degree murder. He told police that he used hollow point bullets to ensure Lennon's death. Oh, you insured it indeed there.
Cops are like, you did that.
Right.
Gloria, well, the only thing you did, right?
And this biatch, Gloria Chapman, had known of her husband's preparations for killing Lennon, but she took no action because Chapman did not follow through at the time. She was not charged. He did not follow through at the time, but he eventually followed through, so what's the difference? I don't understand that. Chapman later said that he harbored...
She's in Hawaii, probably.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Chapman later said that he harbored a deep-seated resentment toward his wife, that she didn't go to somebody, even the police, and say, look, my husband's bought a gun and he's going to kill John Lennon.
Just with charge.
You know what, Chapman? If there's anything that I agree with you more about on this episode, it's that right there.
That, and also...
He's like, well, but at the same time, why didn't he tell his wife, go to somebody?
Right, just like freaking Whitman. Dude.
Right.
Even after that, you sat there and got arrested. So go to jail.
But Whitman actually went to... Remember, Whitman actually went to psychiatrists, and the one guy said that he talked about shooting up the campus on the tower.
Right. But then Whitman went through and wrote those letters about he's having these thoughts. Go to the police or go somewhere and be like, hey, I'm going to do something.
I feel it, right.
Chapman, go to police. Now you hate your wife for not doing it? You could have easily went to the police station and be like, you know what, I'm thinking about going down and killing John Lennon.
I think I want to kill John Lennon. Please get me.
If you let me leave here, I'm going to kill John Lennon.
Put it this way. You better do something with me right now because John Lennon's going to die.
Did you kill him yet, sir? No. Get the hell out of here.
You come back when you do.
I'm going to charge you with making a false report.
You come back when you kill him.
Don't you come here unless you committed a crime. Wasting
our valuable time here. Stupid, dude.
Less talk and more action, buddy.
Right. That's funny because you would hope it wouldn't happen, but you never know.
Right. More than a dozen psychologists and psychiatrists interviewed Chapman in the 6 months prior to his trial. 3 for the prosecution, 6 for the defense. Several more on behalf of the court.
The defense, it was like, we really need to get a hold of this.
Right.
What is going on here? What kind of case?
And the court was like, you guys did how many? You did 9? Yeah, we need several more. Several. Well, how was that? Several. There's no number on several.
Don't stop. Right. We'll tell you.
More than 3. Several. And they conducted a battery of standard diagnostic procedures. More than 200 hours of clinical interviews.
Jeez.
All 6 defense experts concluded Chapman was a psychotic.
Of course he was.
5 diagnosed paranoid schizophrenia, while the 6 felt that his symptoms were more consistent with manic depression.
Either or he's crazy.
The 3 prosecution experts declared that his delusions fell short of psychosis.
Or psychosis.
Right, and instead diagnosed various personality disorders.
Who gives a shit at this point? The guy's crazy.
The court-appointed experts concurred with the prosecution, of course.
Of course they did.
Concurred with the prosecution examiners and that he was just delusional yet competent to stand trial.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was competent.
Yeah, of course he was. Clearly, when the guy asked him what he did, I just shot John Lennon.
Like damn right. I did.
In the examinations, Chapman was more cooperative with the prosecution's mental health experts than those with the defense. Dude, they're defending you. What are you doing?
Right.
One psychiatrist conjectured that he did not wish to be considered crazy and was persuaded that the defense...
They never do.
Right.
Have we met one yet?
That didn't wish to be crazy?
Right.
Oh,
The other guy was like, I'm not crazy.
Yeah, Howard Unruh was like, I'm fucking crazy. He knew it. San Ysidro guy concluded by himself he was crazy. They all knew.
No.
They wrote it in their journals and shit.
Well, the other guy was like, dude, I am competent to stand trial. My lawyers are saying I'm not. Who was that?
That was the dude that shot up the subway station and he defended himself. Well, that dude was just clearly an idiot.
He was crazy.
Clearly an idiot.
He was crazy.
And then the dude, I hate to get off track here, but that dude, after he lost the trial, he wanted to file an appeal because his attorney wasn't competent. Like, dude, you defended yourself, you moron.
Like, my attorney did not even have a clue what the hell's going on. How am I supposed to defend myself with something like that?
Talk about crazy. Oh,
Right.
shit. But yeah, Chapman didn't want to be considered crazy and was persuaded that the defense experts only declared him insane because they were hired to do so.
Obviously.
Charles, well, not obviously. They just were like, they were looking at facts. Like, dude, you're fucking crazy.
Right.
Charles McGowan had been pastor of Chapman's church in Decatur, Georgia, and he visited Chapman. He said, I believe there was a demonic power at work. Chapman initially embraced his old religion with new fervor as a result. What does that mean? Chapman initially embraced his old religion with a new...
like a calling or something, right? New embrace. He embraces religion with new...
Chapman initially embraced his old religion as a result of that visit, but McGowan revealed information to the press that Chapman had told him in confidence. So Chapman disavowed his renewed interest in Christianity and reverted to his initial explanation. He says, I had killed Lennon to promote the reading of Catcher of the Rye.
You didn't have to do that, bud.
Catcher in the Rye.
You did not have to do that.
Wait a minute. So now he's saying, I just want people to read Catcher in the Rye, so I killed a prominent figure. And
Why didn't you just write on a big piece of paper, read Catcher in Rye, and paste it on John Lennon's back when he was walking into the
that,
apartment?
or how about just stand outside the damn How about just stand outside the damn doorway where John Lennon constantly comes and goes with a sign that says "Read Catcher in the Rye"?
And people are like, "What's that?"
People are taking pictures and recording and doing all that shit. Somebody would have caught you.
Right.
Jeez, dude, these people are. I'll never understand it. Hopefully, I don't ever fall and hit my head, and then I become one of these guys. Because my life story will be, life story will be. We used to do podcasts all the time, and he always criticized this kind of stuff.
That would be one hell of a story for me to do.
that would be, dude.
Outlaws and Gunslingers.
Dude, there's
with
movies to be made. There's books to be written, and I mean,
wow, the rise and fall of Bang and Dang. A bang. Rise and fall of Bang.
And then there'd be conspiracies that come out. There'd be like random user Dang killed Bang 1908 on fucking YouTube. This is why I believe that Dang had Bang killed. Dude, we think pretty highly of ourselves, don't we, pal?
Yeah. Chapman's court-appointed lawyer, Herbert Alderberg, withdrew from the case amid threats of lynching. He's like, I don't want to hang.
Like, dude, if you defend this dude,
Right.
we're going to lynch you.
Right, like, I don't want to hang. Screw that.
Right.
Police fear that Lennon fans might storm the hospital.
Dude, yeah, Beatle fans are obsessed.
They're a very threat to our republic. So they transferred Chapman.
Ironically, out of Mark David Chapman and probably 30 or so percent of Beatles fans, Mark David Chapman was probably more sane than those guys.
True. Beatles fans were freaking nuts.
At least the three that killed himself just because John Lennon died.
Yeah,
Gotta be a little crazy for that.
Right. Maybe they did. I don't want to say anything. So they transferred Chapman to Rikers Island for his personal safety.
Yeah, gotta have personal safety.
At the initial hearings in January of 1981, Chapman's new lawyer, Jonathan Marks, instructed him to enter a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity.
Well, they've already concluded he was good to stand trial.
This is
Dude, so
extended.
it's stupid.
Prolonging shit.
Now that he's gonna have to go through, if he accepts
that
it,
shit
another
again. Right.
evaluations and.
In February, Chapman sent a handwritten statement to the New York Times urging everyone to read The Catcher in the Rye, called it an extraordinary book that holds many answers. The defense team sought to establish witnesses as Chapman's mental state at the time of the killings. However, Chapman told Marks in June that he wanted to drop the insanity defense and just plead guilty.
He's like, dude, I did it. I don't have to go through all this shit.
Like, there's people there. I was there.
All right.
Just why?
Everybody saw me, dude.
What's there to defend? Sorry, you did something. I don't care if you're crazy or not. If you did something, you did something. You should pay. If you have to spend the rest of your life in a prison cell or in a mental society, I don't care. But long as it's the rest of your life.
Hey, man, tell that to OJ.
A murder charge. Well, he got found.
Oh, to the world.
He got found.
George Truly.
He got
But
found.
he could have had a conscience to be like, I did it.
But he didn't.
So
He got found not guilty.
there's an instance where even if you did it, you could get found not guilty. So why not take that chance?
Yeah, but nothing like that was ever going to
All
happen.
depends on evidence, bud. Well, obviously it wasn't going to happen in this case. But
Talking about they had all the evidence to convict.
No, I'm not talking about this case. You clearly just said if you did something, just confess to it. Why would you do that? Some people, there's not enough evidence to convict them, even though they know they did it. Why would they plead guilty?
We don't even know if OJ did it.
Well, there's a whole 3-part series on that makes our voices pretty clear. Go check it out.
Yeah, but
man.
still, there's no evidence. I mean, there's no physical. I mean, there's no there's no video evidence of this. There's no video evidence of this guy either.
Right.
But there's witnesses, so that's the same.
Either or.
You got witnesses, and you were there when the cops came.
Either or.
This guy cleared
It's
it.
like
something like OJ. That's
it's like
totally different story.
This is equivalent. It's a shitty comparison, but it's a comparison nonetheless that kind of makes sense. It does make sense. It's a comparison to the NBA wanting a Game 7, so they rig a game, so they can get more exposure and more TV shit.
Right.
Chapman going to trial is equivalent to that. More exposure, more TV shit, more prominence for everything.
That's why they wanted him to plead not guilty.
So go through the trial, right?
Right. And he's like, eh.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why a popular case would be, even though everybody knows the defendant's guilty,
All right.
they're still going to go to trial. It's good TV. It's such good shit.
Right.
His lawyer objected with serious questions over Chapman's sanity and legally challenged his competence to make this decision. They've already concluded he's good. In the pursuant hearing on June 22nd, Chapman said that God hadn't told him to plead guilty and that he would not change his plea or ever appeal, regardless of a sentence.
Whatever, man,
Marks
go
told
with
the
it.
court that he opposed Chapman's change of plea, but Chapman would not listen to him.
Doesn't matter if he opposed
Right.
it. He's just freaking lawyer. I don't mean nothing. That's what I don't understand. These
Lawyers are trying to,
they think they're freaking their God or
Right.
something. Like, dude, no, I don't even need. You're just here because I don't want to be.
you're court appointed.
Right. I don't want to be the guy in the train station in 20 years.
Right.
20 years from now.
He said, I already know what's going to happen with him.
Jeez.
Judge Dennis Edwards Jr. refused a further assessment, saying that Chapman had made the decision on his own free will, declared him competent to plead guilty.
Right.
Yes, thank you, Judge Dennis Edwards.
Jeez, oh Pete.
These lawyers, the lawyer was just trying to get a payday.
Yeah, he
That's
wants
all
money.
he was trying to do.
He's like, hell no, this is my chance.
And notoriety of his name being associated with defending Mark
All
David
this.
Chapman.
That's why lawyers and journalists and politicians and
They're all going to hell, right?
the FBI.
That's what they would say.
Handbasket.
Hell's full of lawyers, politicians, and well, I'm pretty sure those are the only two that
journalists.
they really say journalists now, right?
journalists now, and the FBI is holding that handbasket down the stairway.
Definitely,
Down the stairway.
definitely.
Then they lock the door behind them, and the key disintegrates.
Never getting out.
Except
And then they're getting pineapple shoved up their ass.
for nobody realized that the FBI put down the handbasket in the stairs and locked the door, and they're still roaming
as they
around.
exited.
As they exit, and they're still roaming around.
Nice.
The sentencing hearing took place on 24th of August, 1981. Two experts gave evidence on Chapman's behalf. Judge Edwards interrupted Dorothy Lewis, a research psychiatrist who was Judge Edwards interrupted Dorothy Lewis, a research psychiatrist who was inexperienced in the courtroom. Everybody knew this. Indicating that the purpose of a hearing was to determine the sentence, and there was no question of Chapman's criminal responsibility.
Obviously.
Lewis had maintained that Chapman's decision to change his plea did not appear reasonable or explicable.
So this chick, another chick, out to get money off of exploiting. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and then she implied that the judge did not want to allow an independent competency assessment.
Oh, jeez. He's
already
already gone through it.
If anything's independent, you got to go with the
There was
defense and the prosecution.
There
They
was
both did it.
6 on the defense and 3
Right.
on the prosecution, and all of them came up to the same result. This guy's psychotic.
Yeah. The district attorney argued that Chapman committed the murder as an easy route to fame. I don't think he wanted fame. Maybe. No, he wanted fame for the book.
He wanted fame for the book, but not for him.
Right. Catcher of the Rye.
Right.
He's like, for the love of God, just read
read
the
the
Catcher in
damn
the
book.
Rye. Then he hung himself in the courtroom. The judge is like, case closed.
He hung himself by tying pages of Catcher in the Rye together.
Look how freaking strong this book is.
Chapman was asked if he had anything to say, and he rose and read a passage from The Catcher in the Rye, in which Holden tells his little sister Phoebe what he wants to do with his life. And the excerpt from the book says, I keep picturing all these little kids playing some game in this big field of rye and all. Thousands of little kids, and nobody's around. Nobody big. I mean, except me. And I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff. What I have to do, I have to catch everybody if they start to go over the cliff. I mean, if they're running and they don't look where they're going, I have to come out of somewhere and just catch them. That's all I do all day. I'd just be the catcher in the rye and all. The judge ordered psychiatric treatment. The judge was like, immediately, put this man in the mental house.
Right. He's like, holy shit.
The judge ordered psychiatric treatment for Chapman during his incarceration and sentenced him to 20 to life.
Right.
5 years left in the 25 years to life maximum sentence. Why? That's stupid. Just give him 25 to life.
Right, you should have given him
I think
life.
25 to life is no parole, though.
I think if you murder anybody, you should spend your life in prison.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry.
Right?
You're lucky.
Well, you look at the dude that just killed.
Not dead.
You look at the dude that killed Robert Kennedy, Sirhan or whatever. He just got let out of prison.
Or we can all be like Ray Lewis and win a Super Bowl.
Well, he didn't kill him. He hid evidence of his homies that killed him, but he knew it.
Same thing.
Right?
1981, Chapman was in prison, Attica Correctional Facility, just outside of Buffalo, New York. He fasted for 26 days in February of 1892. Nope, 1982.
This motherfucker went back 100 years. He said, I'm
like,
fast.
somehow, when I entered Attica Correctional Facility, I found myself in Buffalo in 1892.
1882.
I fasted for 26 days, not knowing what the hell was going on.
Not only because I literally couldn't find any food. It was 1882.
They did not provide us with matches or candles. 1981, Chapman was imprisoned, Attica Correctional Facility, outside of Buffalo, New York. I know it's Buffalo, guys.
Obviously.
Jesus, man, I'm going to get a review for that.
You can't even say Buffalo.
Well, I don't know how to read.
He don't
Those
know
damn
how to
what
read.
was that with those damn rednecks or those southern
Those drunken rednecks.
those southerns don't even know how to read. Southern, we call ourselves the Mouthy Michiganders at the end of every fucking episode, you idiots.
Right. He fasted for 26 days, February 1982.
Right.
New York State Supreme Court authorized the state to force feed him.
Yep, got to force feed him, hold him down like a little baby back bitch, and shoot some mushy shit in his mouth, right?
Yeah, that's what you get, bud. Central New York Psychiatric Center Director Martin Von Holden, he said that Chapman refused to eat with other inmates, but agreed to take liquid nutrients.
Nice,
Whatever, just to keep himself alive, I guess. He was held in solitary confinement for violent and at-risk prisoners, part due to concern that he might be harmed by Lennon's fans and the general population.
Dude, yeah. Imagine how many Beatles fans were in the
If
prison.
there's crazy Beatle fans out there roaming the streets, there's even more of them. And
Yeah, because that's usually where they end up.
right, oh my, that's all they got left too is Beatles stuff.
They call it Beatles Institution.
There were 100
Beatles Correctional Facility.
They probably found a prison that had the most Beatles fans in it. It's like, send this motherfucker there. Send him
Or
there.
Beatles fans were, it's kind of like, let's go to prison. Beatles fans were purposely going and committing crimes to go to prison. We're going to kill Mark David Chapman.
Right. And his name in prison would be John Lennon's killer. That's it. Please, prisoner number John Lennon's killer. Step out of
He's the only
yourself.
one that don't have an actual number. It's just John Lennon's killer. And then every time he went to like the mess hall or anything,
What's your
John Lennon's killer coming down the hallway.
And then he gets his food at the end. And what's your prison number? John Lennon's killer. Takes his food away. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Gives him a pear or something.
Kicks him in his ass. Jeez, oh, peas.
John Lennon's killer.
Yeah.
There were 105.
There were 105 prisoners in this facility who were not considered a threat to him.
So, yeah, 105
Quote
people.
unquote.
105 people that didn't know who the Beatles were or just hated the Beatles.
Right. According to the New York State Department of Correctional Services,
How'd they do that? They go around the damn prison and do a poll.
They had
do,
to.
Do you like the Beatles?
they probably had to.
Do you like the
This
Beatles?
is the Jesus of music. What do you say he
Yes.
was? He's bigger than Jesus.
Yeah.
He had his own cell, but spent most of his day outside his cell working on housekeeping and in the library. So this dude was in jail.
Regular life.
This dude was doing nothing. Yeah, just couldn't leave the building.
Regular life.
Right.
Sad. Chapman worked in the prison.
In the prism. Got to see all kinds of lights.
Right.
All those different colors.
Colors. Chapman worked in the prison as a legal clerk and sous chef.
Hey.
He was barred from participating.
Wait, you're going to let a dude that murder somebody.
And on knives.
Now, even that, cook food for other people.
It's true.
Easily murder people with food items.
Have you ever seen, who was it?
He could not cook
It might have been on YouTube, but I think it might have been a show. A chef used to go, a famous chef used to go to prisons with murder suspects, people that stabbed people, shot people, and he would make them their sous chefs and their chefs while he's cooking for the prison.
Right, because usually, that's something.
But he wouldn't allow guards in.
Really?
So it was just him with the prisoners, and they're holding sharp knives and all sorts of things that could kill them or each other. But yeah, it was pretty successful as far as I know. Nobody murdered each other, and nobody got murdered.
Shit.
So yeah, it's good stuff. He was barred from participating in the Cephas Attica Workshops, which was a charitable organization helping inmates adjust to life outside of prison.
All right.
Well, yeah, because he's never going to see outside. Like, what do you do for them?
Right.
He was also prohibited from attending the prison's violence and anger management classes due to concern for his safety. They could have a private guy or something.
Right.
He told a parole board in 2004 what he would do if he was paroled. He said, "I would immediately try to find a job. And I really want to go from place to place, at least in the state, church to church. Tell people what happened to me and point them the way to Christ."
Oh.
And now you want to repent, huh?
Right.
He also said that he thought he could find work as a farmhand or return to his previous trade as a printer.
Oh, not to mention that he's a sous chef in the prison. If you would have said, "Hey, I might want to open my own restaurant."
I've been working as a sous chef in the prison for a long time. Maybe I can go find a job there.
Maybe go around and doing
do a food drive
drives
or something.
Yeah, for the homeless or the
veterans or
Right.
something. Right.
idiot. You missed your chance, Mark David.
Right.
Chapman is Chapman is in the family reunion program and is allowed one conjugal visit a year with his wife.
Still got his wife, huh? Bitch didn't leave him. Good for her.
Ever since he accepted solitary confinement.
You get one conjugal visit. Wow.
The program allows him to spend up to 48 hours alone.
48 hours though, 2 days. You should be banging till your dick's raw. I'm telling you that much.
They don't have to guarantee him 48
Well, right,
hours.
but I'm sure it happened most of the time.
Right. So up to 48 hours alone with his wife in a specially built prison home. You ever seen those movies like that when they would have it?
I was just about to say that. Did you ever see Breaking Bad when he goes to visit Skyler in the prison?
Breaking Bad. What was Breaking Bad?
Breaking Bad, meth dealer.
Breaking Bad. Oh, with
he goes to visit Skyler in the prison when she goes there, and
Yes.
she's
that's
in the little apartment.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Right. Obviously,
He also gets occasional visits. There's also a old black and white movie with
that'd be the best 48 hours though.
who's in it? Somebody's in it. I think. Who was in it? Somebody. I don't know. It's decent.
Best 48 hours. You literally got all the amenities. You're in a house by yourself with your wife and feel like a normal 2 days for
would not
least, right? Fuck no. Do everything you
48
can.
hours.
I'm telling you, your dick would be so raw.
I would make her bring in some cocaine somehow.
They're
She
gonna
can put it-
search her, obviously.
Put it up her ass.
Yeah.
For all I care.
Right?
Throw it up. I don't know.
Something.
Put up your pussy.
Mm-hmm.
Do they check inside the pussy?
I don't think that's illegal.
Unless they have the woman there.
I think they can check prisoners, but they can't check.
The
I don't think
people
they're
there.
going to check anal cavities of visitors, dude. It's weird. Maybe though. I don't know.
He also gets occasional visits from his sister, clergy, and a few friends.
This dude still got friends, huh? All right, loyal.
Right. 2004, Department of Correctional Services spokesman James Flatow said that Chapman had. Oh, he convinced his sister, the clergy, and a few friends that he was actually. I need help and nobody's helping me. And,
Right.
This guy's innocent. What can we do to help? This dude's gone.
I don't think any of us ever claimed that they were innocent. He was innocent.
Right. Right. This dude's fucked up.
No.
He just needs somebody in his life.
Right.
2004, Department of Correctional Services spokesman James Flatow said that Chapman had been involved in 3 minor incidents between 1989 and 1994, which is probably fantastic in prison.
Yeah.
And he's in a murder, so he's in one of those groups.
Right.
He got in trouble for delaying an inmate count and refusing to follow an order.
Oh.
Get the hell out of here.
Right.
That's minor incidents. What you did say, minor.
Right. Obviously, right.
May 15, 2012, he was transferred to Wende Correctional Facility in Eldon, New York, which is east of Buffalo.
Okay.
March 30th, 2022, he was transferred to Green Haven Correctional Facility in Beekman, New York, which is in Dutchess County.
All right, good for him.
So what is the difference between all these? Are these a little better and better?
He's just getting transferred, man.
Yeah.
It happens.
I think you go up and up.
He's not a serious offender.
Yeah.
I think he's like 80, 70,
Now
something
he's
like
going
now.
somewhere
So,
where it's
right.
non-violent people.
Right.
Yeah.
Chapman refused all requests for interviews following the murder and during his first 6 years at Attica, later claiming that he did not want to give the impression that he killed Lennon for fame and notoriety. Despite his claim that he refused all interviews during those 6 years, James R. Gaines interviewed him and wrote a 3-part, 18,000-word People magazine series, which started in 1981 and climaxed in February and March of 87. Damn, dude, milked 6 years out of him.
Dang.
Chapman told the parole board that he regretted the interview.
Hey.
He later gave a series of audio-taped interviews to Jack Jones of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, and Jones published Let Me Take You Down, Inside the Mind of Mark David Chapman, the Man Who Killed John Lennon, which was released in 1992. Hey, buddy, too long of a title.
All right.
Jones asked Chapman to tell his story for Mugshots, which was a court TV program in 2000.
Was
With his
and
first
it's a magazine now.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Magazine.
With his first parole hearing approaching. Yeah, 2000 coming up.
Right.
Chapman refused to go on camera, but consented to tell his story in a series of audio tapes. December 4th, 1992, he also was interviewed by Barbara Walters on 2020, which was his first television interview. December 17th, 1992, a week later, Larry King said, "Hey, you're taking interviews from Barbara Walters. Why don't I interview you two on Larry King Live?"
No, that's messed up. And Chapman should never received any type of dollar amount for any of these. I don't care.
100% he didn't.
Oh, he did.
No.
He got money.
Maybe.
I guarantee he got money.
Possibly. Or his estate or his family did, I would hope.
Does he have one?
His sister and his wife and friends, apparently.
Right, and that's the clergy.
Clergyman.
Clergy.
Clergyman.
Clergyman.
Just a priest or something.
All right. Chapman first became eligible for parole in 2000, serving 20 years in prison.
20 years. He did his 20 years of life, man.
Under New York state law, he is required to have a parole hearing every 2 years from that year onward. It should be every year.
I would say, right? Every 6 months.
Every 6 months. Since that time, a 3-member board has denied Chapman's parole 11 times.
As they should.
Before Chapman's first parole hearing, Yoko Ono sent a letter to the board requesting that Chapman should stay behind bars and serve out the remainder of his life sentence.
Agreed.
Yes. In addition, New York State Senator Michael, if anything, remove him to no, keep him in prison.
No,
He's fine where
exactly.
he's at.
He literally cold-blooded murdered somebody. I mean, come on, dude.
Right. I'll keep on moving around so he's never comfortable. Go to prison.
Or at least cell to cell. Just
day.
keep moving
Every
his
6
cell.
hours.
Right?
Every 6 hours, he has to move his cell. All of his belongings.
I would do that too.
Yeah.
They should do that at all prison.
Right.
Like all inmates.
Right. I would just hold everything for 6 hours
Yep.
in my hand.
Take your shit.
Yeah. I'll just hold it in my hand. I don't even lay on a blanket.
That's hilarious. I'd do it.
Right.
Fuck them.
In addition, New York State Senator Michael Nozzolio,
Zolio.
chairman of the Senate Crime and Correction Committee, wrote to parole board chairman Brian Travis. He said this.
Brian with an I-O-N. I don't like that.
It's weird. Brian, nobody likes Brian, especially with
Right.
the last name Travis. You can't have 2 first names.
And don't trust those people.
Right. He told 2 first namer, it is the responsibility of New York State Parole Board to ensure that public safety is protected from the release of dangerous criminals like Mark David Chapman.
Wow, this is when New York actually had standards, dude. Wow. Somewhat, right. We'll go through a short little history of his parole board hearings. First in 2000, during the 50-minute hearing, Chapman said that he was not a threat to society and that Lennon would have approved of his release. Right then and there, they should have said denied.
Oh, no, definitely not. They should have stopped it.
The parole board, however, concluded that releasing him would deprecate the seriousness of the crime and serve to undermine the respect for law, good for you, and that Chapman granted media interviews represented a continued interest in maintaining his notoriety.
What they're saying is
No.
22 years is not long enough.
Right. They noted also that Chapman had a good disciplinary record while in prison, but he had been in solitary confinement and he didn't have access to people, pretty much. So what
Right.
the hell is he going to do? Correctional Association of New York lawyer Robert Ganji said that he thought it unlikely that Chapman would ever be freed because the board would not risk the political heat of releasing Lennon's killer.
I think
which
you can do it now.
100% agree.
I think you can do it now.
I think Ono has to die first.
I think you can do it nowadays.
No, I think Ono has to die first.
Right.
If Ono dies and Chapman's still alive, he'll probably get released.
2002, the second hearing, the board stated again that releasing Chapman after 22 years in prison I mean, like, what did he do? He just murdered somebody. Here's 22 years in prison. Well, this guy has to die for the rest of his life. He don't get 22 years and gets to be alive again.
He's got to die for the rest of his life, yeah.
He gets to die over and over and over again for eternity.
Every day.
This guy gets out in 22 years and lives a free life, able to kill again. Mm-hmm. Although his behavioral record continued to be positive, yet was no predictor of his potential community behavior. No, I don't care. I'm sorry.
Right. We don't know what he's going to do.
He intentionally murdered. I can see.
We don't know what he's going to do in the wild.
Actually, if he accidentally,
I would ban. If anything, I would ban him from reading.
Let's say,
if anything, say we're going to let him go, I would ban him from reading anything that has that would provoke thought of anything, because this dude is instantly influenced by Around the World in 80 Days and Catcher in the Rye. You can't have any media, he can't consume anything.
No, he can only watch how it's made. No, you can't even watch that.
No, anything that doesn't involve weapons. You can watch like a snowboard being made or something like that. But boom, 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 boom. Boom, the How It's Made theme song.
Right.
How It's Made, I don't care.
Legos or
Greatest show in the history of mankind, to be honest with you.
Right. I watch it all day.
2004, the parole board held a third hearing and declined parole yet again. One of the reasons given by the board was that Chapman had subjected Yoko Ono to monumental suffering by her witness in the crime. Oh, so they changed it up a little bit.
She's scared for her life. I mean, I understand.
They had a different reading, though. Not only would it undermine the crime, but now we're taking into account the suffering witnessed by Ono. Right. Another factor was concern for Chapman's safety. Right. Several Lennon fans threatened to kill him upon his release. Still in 2004. These guys are crazy. Ono's letter opposing his release stated that Chapman would not be safe outside of the prison. She said it. So
that's a threat.
If she said it, then she's calling secretly for people to do it.
That's a threat.
The board reported that its decision was based on the interview, a review of records, and deliberation. By this time, approximately 6,000 people had signed an online petition opposing his release. Or 6,000, that's not many.
Still, I don't care, Ono. That's a threat. Don't say anything stupid. The guy don't belong. Oh, you can simply say the guy don't belong on prison because he killed a man.
He could potentially be hurt, which is wink, wink.
You say the guy don't belong out because he killed a man knowingly,
right? Deliberately
killed a man. Mm-hmm. That's it. There's no other reason. Why should you not?
Not at all.
Why should I let you out of prison? Mm-hmm. Tell me why. Have you? Besides, okay, if you've never killed a man, you're coming out of this prison. What was your crime, sir? I killed John Lennon. Adios.
Denied.
Right. No, they shouldn't even let him say nothing. When his parole hearing came up, as soon as he walked the door, they say, denied.
No, so as soon as he walks, as soon as he looks through the door, they're like, no.
He has to be in the room to make it official.
We got like 20 more minutes. Can I get a beer, dude? My mouth is like fucking dry.
It has to be official. As soon as he walks in the room, it should just be like, denied.
Yeah, they know who he is.
Right.
They've already known his record from prison.
Right.
I mean, deny it. Right. It's always going to be denied. Stupid. No, let him sit down, state his name.
What's your name, sir?
And his case, and then denied. That's it. This is your fourth time up here? All right.
Why do you feel you should be paroled? We don't care. Well,
denied. And so they stamp it on his forehead. He's got 11 tattoos that say denied on his fucking forearm.
2006, the parole board held a 16-minute hearing. Concluded that
16 minutes. Remember, the first one was 50 minutes, and this one's down to 16.
16 like, still is too long.
Yeah.
Concluded that his release would not be in the best interest of the community or his own personal safety. So put him in a halfway house.
Keep him in prison. How about that?
26th anniversary of Lennon's death. Ono published a one-page advertisement in several newspapers saying that December 8th should be a day of forgiveness. But she was not sure if she was ready to forgive Chapman. Mm. So you shouldn't even just do it. So you're going to lie. So you're a hypocrite.
Right. It should be a day of forgiveness for everybody else but me.
Mrs. Ono, what about Mark David Chapman? No.
Fuck him.
No. It should be a day of forgiveness except for.
Wait a minute. Sorry, Ono.
Right.
But December 7th is the day Pearl Harbor was attacked.
Well, it was December 8th.
It was December 7th.
She said 8th.
But December 7th is the day Pearl Harbor was attacked, so people are already remembering that. You can't have John Lennon remember and say the next day.
That's two down days.
Right. You can't have that. Right before Christmas?
Right.
I mean, come on, dude.
Two depressing days in a row? You can't have two depressing days
8 days before my birthday. What am I going to do?
Right. 2 depressing days? Can't do it.
No. Sorry. Oh, no.
2008, Chapman was denied parole at his 5th hearing due to concern for public safety and the welfare of himself.
well,
it's the same. They're going to keep on giving him same bullshit.
We know it's going back. 2010, in advance of Chapman's scheduled 6th parole hearing, Ono said that she would again oppose it, stating that her safety, that of John's sons and Chapman's, would be at risk.
All right.
She added, quote unquote, "I am afraid it will bring back the nightmare, the chaos, and confusion once again." Which it kind of does every 2 years since he comes up for parole anyways, right? Let's let him out, I guess. No, don't let him out.
No.
The parole board
I think after 5 times it should go, you really can't.
got to be every 2 years.
For murder, I guess.
It's in the law. It's 2 years.
All right. For murder, it should be every 5 years.
It's the law, 2 years.
Just because.
The parole board postponed the hearing in September, stating that it was awaiting additional information.
Or what?
To complete Chapman's record, whatever that means. September 7th, the board denied his application. They stated his release remains inappropriate at this time, incompatible with the welfare of the community. This goes on for several. 2012, denied.
Right.
Violent, cold, calculated crime.
Right.
2014, denied.
Denied.
He says this time, I'm wrong. I found my peace in Jesus. I know him. He loves me. He has forgiven me. He has helped me in my life. You wouldn't believe.
Right.
The board said not good enough.
Oh, sorry, bud.
They said that they believe there is a reasonable probability that you would not live and remain at liberty without again violating the law.
Right.
So now they're saying, I think this guy's going to do something again.
Of course he is.
2016, denied for the 9th time, pretty much the same thing. 2018, denied for the 10th time, pretty much the same thing. The court still says that he did it for notoriety, doesn't have remorse, blah, blah, blah. 2020, denied for the 11th time. This time they said it would be incompatible with the welfare of society, like they said again. According to the tapes acquired by ABC News, he sought glory in killing a member of the Beatles. So new stuff came out in 2020. 2022, as we're speaking, his 12th parole hearing is scheduled in the next few days after August 30th. We're recording this on the 3rd, so it could have happened or are happening in the next few days or by the time this episode comes out. So
See if this happens right now.
I guess we'll know, won't we? Like we said earlier, John Hinckley Jr. tried to assassinate President Ronald Reagan less than 4 months after Lennon's murder. They found a Catcher in the Rye among his personal belongings. He left a cassette tape in his hotel. He said, one of those tapes said, "One of my idols was murdered, and now Jodie Foster's the only one left." Jeez. He added that anything I might do in 81 would be solely for Jodie Foster's sake.
Yeah, that guy was nuts.
Creepo.
Jodie Foster didn't even care either. She's like, I don't even like Ronald Reagan.
And she was...
I know.
What? She was in her teens by then, because she had just come off of doing Taxi Driver, which she was only like 11 years old, prostitute.
People in the late 70s were weird, man.
Yeah,
70s
60s,
weird.
70s, 80s.
Yes, man. Weird mofos.
All right, we got 8 minutes to see if we can get this shit done.
Every 8th of December, a remembrance ceremony. Every 8th of December, a remembrance ceremony is held.
Did you just say a remembrance Maroni?
Ceremony. Every 8th of December, a remembrance ceremony is held in front of the Capitol Records building on Vine Street in Hollywood.
Hollywood and Vine.
People also light candles in front of Lennon's Hollywood Walk of Fame star.
Obviously.
That's where you would do it.
Right.
Outside the Capitol building. Dang, it's outside
Capitol
the
Records.
Right. On 28th and the 30th of September, through the 30th, in 2007, Dornes held the John Lennon Northern Lights Festival, which was attended by Lennon's half-sister Julia Baird, who read from his writings and her own books, and Stanley Parks, Lennon's Scottish cousin.
Okay, we're going to skip all that because there's a lot of tributes and all this stuff. A bunch of songs wrote about him that was mentioned, the murder, a bunch of other songs, tribute by Harrison, McCartney, Ringo, Paul, all those guys. Paul released this. John Lennon did that. Well, he died. But New York City dedicated an area of Central Park where Lennon had frequently walked in 1985.
Okay.
Well, that's when they dedicated it.
Directly across from the Dakota.
Yeah. As Strawberry Fields and a symbolic show of unity, countries from around the world donated trees, and the city of Naples, Italy, donated the Imagine mosaic centerpiece. Cover them, and that goes along with a bunch of other memorials and other stuff like that. But CIA and FBI surveillance of Lennon due to his left-wing activism and the actions of Chapman during the murder or subsequent legal proceedings have led to conspiracy theories postulating CIA involvement. Of course it did. Fenton Bresler, a barrister and journalist, raised this idea of CIA involvement in the murder in his book, Who Killed John Lennon, which was published in 1990. Chapman allegedly may have been brainwashed by the CIA as an assassin, such as in the book, movie, and real life Manchurian Candidate.
Well, you know what, guys? The FBI has brainwashed a lot of
CIA.
shooters. And the CIA has brainwashed a lot of shooters throughout American history and recently.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, whatever. They did. I mean, it's not surprisingly.
Right.
No.
Wouldn't be surprised at all.
No, not at all.
Especially what's happening today in real world and
Still-
all the stuff that we've already covered here. I would not be surprised.
Either way, he should still be in prison for the rest of his life. I don't care. And sure, if we can find out whoever was behind the scheme, behind the conspiracy,
Right.
whatever, throw them in prison too if they're still alive.
Yep. Liverpool playwright Ian Carroll staged a drama, One Bad Thing, conveying the theory Chapman was manipulated by a rogue wing of the CIA who wanted Lennon off the scene, which we haven't discussed in this episode. He did get deported back to wherever because he was communist and all this stuff. Everybody knows that already.
John Lennon is,
he was watched by the FBI and CIA like a son of a bitch.
I mean, definitely could have been I wouldn't put it past the FBI and CIA to.
Nobody would.
I mean, part of me, maybe. If this was a story about the conspiracy of John Lennon, I'll probably be all in on it by the end of the story. Mm-hmm. Thinking, you know what? We've seen worse.
Yeah, well, we haven't even covered worse.
All right.
2004 book, Salvador Astrusha argued that forensic evidence proves Chapman did not commit the murder. I don't know. I've never read the book. Have to
How's that?
See that.
That was forensic evidence.
2010 documentary, The Day John Lennon Died, suggests that Jose Perdomo, the doorman, was a Cuban exile. With links to the CIA and the Bay of Pigs invasion. So I'm sure there's more.
No. Chapman definitely shot him.
100% shot him,
Yes.
for sure. Was he told to, brainwashed,
Oh,
Manchurian candidated, anything like that? Probably, most likely, and
of that.
wouldn't be surprised if he was.
Any of that I'll go with, and we can still stick to the he's crazy. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care.
And crazy. Well, we'll do all three. Ding,
All
ding,
right,
ding.
all three.
Ding, ding, ding.
The problem is we're never going to find out the truth.
Nope. Maybe about 50 years.
Maybe.
When it doesn't mean anything.
Maybe.
Yeah, this episode lasted a lot longer than I thought. We're going to get out of here quick. One of the
John
longest
Lennon
episodes.
by a freaking weirdo.
By a weirdo that just wanted people to read Catcher in the Rye. I've never read Catcher in the Rye.
Did not have one bad
Doesn't
thought
sound,
of
too
John
appealing
Lennon
to me either.
He thought he was a hypocrite because why? What did he say?
Said he was bigger than Jesus.
Yeah,
And
that
they
got
didn't
him.
like his lavish
Right.
lifestyle.
Right. Other than that, get the hell out of here. I don't know. Then we can dig into this and dig in this and go into conspiracies and make this a 5-hour show.
Oh, there's a lot of conspiracies. Maybe we'll do a follow-up next
Should.
week
we
with
might have to.
with just conspiracies. I'm sure we can find a whole lot about that. But for now, that was the whole story of the murder and I guess life story, early life story of Mark David Chapman.
So if you're listening to this, take a look on Google and see if Chapman's out of prison.
Yeah, we just looked it up while we were doing this, and he's not
still
had
in
his
the-
hearing yet.
It's
but,
still in the days to come.
We'll see if he actually gets out,
I
which
think
I
it's Labor
highly...
Day. I think it's Labor Day, but they're gonna push it back.
Probably going to be
days.
middle of the week, next week
Right,
sometime.
right.
Yeah, I doubt he's going to get out.
Now,
but
anybody still alive? Who's still alive? Oh no, still alive.
Ono's still alive, and
Yep, not
his
happening.
sons.
As long as she's still alive. Sorry. Now this guy's got to be what?
I don't know.
80.
We got a minute left.
Mouthy Michiganders. Bang and dang.
That's going to do it for the John Lennon murder. Join us next week for whatever we decide. I don't know what we're going to do. We got to...
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you guys have already heard us on the last episode. Other than that, go check out Battles of the American Civil War. We're in the middle of May of 1862. My bad. Lots of stuff going on there leading up to the second Battle of Bull Run. Go check out. We just recorded before this. This week in sports history for September 5th through September 11th.
Pete Rose breaking the all-time hits record.
Pete Rose breaks the all-time hit record. Plus, we got some
Cal Ripken Jr. breaking the all-time
Cal
games
Ripken,
played consecutive.
football stats. Other sports are starting to come in the mix.
Yeah.
And that's Bang Dang Network on Google. Google that, and you'll see Battles of American Civil War this week in sports history, plus some of the other shows that we do over there. We'll be back next week for another episode of Outlaws and Gunslingers. We are the Month of Michiganders with
Bang Dang.